So here I'm just filling out 2 pages, but I guess I will kind of call this one page since it's a small sketchbook. I didn't look at any like reference photos or anything. I kind of just had a podcast playing and I just drew away at whatever came to mind. Whenever I tend to, I guess, like just start doodling or sketching in my sketchbook, I end up drawing people because that's something that I'm definitely used to. I'm definitely used to drawing people a lot more than like landscapes or backgrounds or I don't know, fields or nature or inanimate objects or whatever the case may be. Because I just didn't spend a lot of time drawing those things. For a while, I did like to do a lot of character design, so I definitely focused just on anatomy and how to draw people and things like that. That's like what I was more into rather than, let's say, drawing buildings and cities and forests and stuff like that. That's just like I'll draw that stuff sometimes here and there, but it's not something that I'll like practice or put much of a focus on, right? And as an artist, it's important to have range, but there's nothing wrong with specialization. Because when it comes to specialization, then people are going to be more likely to come to you for that specific thing, right? So it's kind of like finding a niche within your niche. So art or just drawing in general is already a niche, and then let's just say, for example, character design, that's also a niche, and then maybe not even that. Let's say portrait painting, right? So you do art, that's a niche. Then you do painting, that's another niche, and then you do portrait painting, that's even another niche. And then let's say maybe you do abstract portrait painting, or you do what do they call it? Like where they have like those goofy drawings where of yourself, caricatures, right? So then that's a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche. So then that's what this way you can kind of get like a specific audience that will be more likely to tune in, or that will be more likely to, I guess, like go to you for services or whatever. So there's nothing wrong with specification. Now, of course, you do want to have some type of general knowledge or general skill within many things if for whatever reason life, I guess, calls for it. But like again, like if you want to, like, let's say if you want to be a character designer, you want to go into animation and you want character designing to be your main focus, then go all in, do as much as you can, whilst of course picking up other aspects of animation and just the entertainment and animation industry in general. But if you want to be just a lot better at animating, then you want to get better at some other aspects that you wouldn't really have to worry about when it comes to being a character designer, right? So again, specialization allows for you to be able to get within these micro niches, so that when people are looking for that specific thing and they see that you're one of the best at it, then they're going to go to you more often, right? And since you're one of the best at it, you're going to get more and more, sales, right? Or I say sales, I'm equating this to like wealth or whatever, but whatever type of value or gain that you get from producing stuff or making stuff or creating stuff in general. And this of course can be applied to with anything. It doesn't just have to be art. There's so many things like just in life that I guess I can say I'll receive, like I'll hear about, or information I'll consume, and I'll hear it from one aspect of life. Like let's say maybe, like, okay, I get inspired by Kobe Bryant, right? And Kobe Bryant is a basketball player. Now, I don't have the desire nor passion to play or really get all that good at basketball, right? I barely even play basketball myself, and someone who is a basketball player inspires me, right? And the reason why is because of his drive, his determination, his willingness to, get in and go hard every day, right? To be able to just stay focused on one thing and let it be his entire life, right? And notice how everything I said I didn't say anything about basketball when it came to those qualities of him. So there's so much advice, great advice and information out there from people outside of your own field or whatever, outside of your own passion or goals that you can get inspired by. because like all this stuff is transferable. All this stuff you can kind of like switch around the knowledge, right? I was watching a podcast with David Cho, and David Cho is this artist. If you don't know, he started out as a graffiti artist, and he was talking about how he would go to these like Alcoholic Anonymous meetings or Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and he would just sit in. Right, he wasn't suffering from these things. He wasn't like a drug addict. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he was addicted to a lot of things. And what he would do is every time they would talk about like any experience they've had with alcohol, that they had with drugs, he would just basically replace, in his mind, he would replace the words alcohol and drugs with like video games, gambling, pornography, whatever it was that he was addicted to. And it kind of allowed him to help him kind of like, I guess, see himself in that same way, right? Because, there's like, we can transfer things over, things can be transferred over to different mediums without them having to necessarily relate to each other, right? Because we all are human on this earth, and at the end of the day, we all kind of go through the same or similar experiences, right? Whether they be something that are like, maybe on surface level, they're not similar, but just when you look deep into it, everything is similar, right? We all get addicted to our own things. We all get very passionate and become very focused on our own things. We all fall off from things in different ways, but all in all, it's just basically the same story over and over again using different words. And with the different minds of people, right? At the end of the day, we're kind of all like one whole being, together, right? But we don't see it like that because we live in a way that's on such a basis to where we can't see outside of ourselves, and everything else outside of ourselves is indifferent, and so, or we treat it indifferently or look at it indifferently. So unless we can relate someone else's situation to us, then we have no way of understanding. That's why when you might have a conversation with a friend who's trying to like, tell you about, deep things and whatnot, or things that happen to them, you might kind of already not replace, but you might already kind of think of similar situations you were in, or situations that you can kind of like replace the words or change the words around, and then now it's almost as if you were in that same situation. Or you imagine like, what if this happened to a loved one, right? And that's not like it's a bad thing to do, because again, it's practically the only way we're able to understand what other people are going through, by putting ourselves in that situation. But at the end of the day, we can still feel bad for other people, even if that's something that we can't imagine happening, or something that has never happened to us. But again, we still kind of imagine like, oh man, what if that happened to me, right? So that's kind of like leading back into how, we're all just one almost creature, one being. We're almost a conglomerate that kind of separates and isolates ourselves, right? And at the same time, you kind of do the same thing as well. Within your own self, you might have, like, not different versions, but you just might have like different lives that you go through, or just different chapters in your life, right? Where you might have been a completely different person, or you might have been a much better person before, and now you're a worse person, or vice versa. There's points of struggling and there's points of succeeding, and we tend to separate these, like I said, chapters or moments in our lives when we look back on it. And, sometimes we'll literally see ourselves as a completely different person. Like, we're not the same. That wasn't the same guy before. That wasn't the same girl before. And so there's a lot of parallels with, I guess, like, just how things are transferable, right? Our lives, our experiences, what we're motivated by, what we get inspired by, the things that we decide to focus on in life, the friends that we have, right? Like, I mean, how many people have you met? This is not even with just friends, but how many people have you met where it's like you're the same exact person as someone that I knew before? And it's just interesting how, I guess, the world can just, I don't know, throw the same thing at you almost. And then sometimes you'll look at the same exact thing and you'll look at it differently. Like, as in, let's say maybe you love to exercise and you have no problem working out, but for whatever reason, it's hard for you to stay dedicated at something else, right? But yeah, everything's transferable. Things like specification, that can help a lot. That's about all I gotta say, I hope this made sense. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out.